Hi guys, welcome back to Heroes Ascension, a solo co-op narrative TTRPG by Caverna, Lekkis, a fellow creator, and it is a game where you are starting a character from zero to hero. I have in the previous video gone over the game, over the rules. In this video, we're going to create a character and we're going to take it through their first mission. What I will do is I'll generate all the information for the character, and then what I'll do is I'll go away, come up with some kind of story and maybe more detailed design for the character. I'm going to see if there's an online generator for the name I can come up with. And then we'll also add a portrait, and then I'll come back with a nice full character sheet, and we'll get ready for mission one. So without further ado, let us begin by creating our character. Now, character creation in Heroes Ascension is very, very easy. You're basically just rolling 4 things. That's it. All right, hero creation. We've got to roll up origin, power, skill, and weakness. We also start off with 3 body, 3 mind, and 3 bond. These are our resistances, which can be affected whenever we roll 1s. If they ever go down to 0, we have certain hindrances in terms of the game. And what you do is you just cross off these circles as you take damage. Fate points, we start with 3 fate points every mission. And our starting reputation is 1. Let me just make sure that can be seen on the camera. I think that can be read. I think we'll stick with pencil. Now, I will be just writing down on here, but I think I will then transfer onto one of these character sheets for the actual mission. So let's have a look. Origin. Our origin is a 2. Accident. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to roll them all up to begin with, and then, like I say, I'll go away and I'll flesh out some kind of story linking them all together. So an accident could be anything. It could be a physical accident where maybe I knock my head and somehow generate psychic powers or some kind of mental abilities. It could be a laboratory accident where I gain maybe sort of energy powers. We'll have to see how that works. But origin is an accident. Right, 2. What is your special ability? What do we get for that? We get a 6. Physical. So physical. So it could be anything from strength, like the Hulk. It could be maybe manipulation of my body, like, what's his name? Fantastic Four. Is it Mr. Fantastic? Reed. Is his name Reed? I can't remember. All right, so something about physical. All right, skill. We get a 4. Science. Yeah, that kind of fits with this. What's his name? Reed Richards. Fantastic Four. I mean, the accident, he got hit by gamma rays in space, right? And he can manipulate his body and stretch his body. And he's a scientist. Yeah, but I don't want it to be just a copy of an existing superhero. I want something new. Weakness. A 3. Addiction. Addiction. Was he addicted to anything? I mean, I think he was addicted to science. Sort of being maybe too focused on science. Again, I'm thinking of the movie where didn't he almost miss his wedding or something because he was focused on building a machine for the military. Anyway, we're not going to be Mr. Fantastic. We're not going to be Reed Richards or whatever his name is. This is going to be a new character, which is going to be very different from him, I promise. But now I'm going to go away and I'm going to think of how these are going to work together. I'm going to come up with a name and a portrait. So join me in a few seconds and we'll carry on with mission 1. And we're back. A little bit of time off camera, and I have analysed our roles for our character. I've come up with the name FLUX because I'm kind of thinking that my physical power, I mean, it'd be pretty obvious for it to be like super strength or like the flexibility of Reed Richards. But I mean, I have put strength there, but I kind of wanted to have some kind of like ranged attack, blast attack. So trying to fit it in with the physical rather than the energy power, I've come up with that Flux basically has high strength, but also a kinetic blast, which I think could also fit in under physical. And we've also come up with a kind of background story. I've just put some notes down here as I was thinking about what to do and specifically what they were going to be. So I put here accident, lab explosion. The physical power, I put strength and kinetic blast. Skill was science, so I put lab scientist. I know, right? Kind of obvious, I know, right? I know. And then for the addiction, I thought it would be a good idea if my character was somehow addicted to using his powers. So it would be a case of him fighting against... Sorry, I'm just moving the camera a little bit so everything's on better. I thought it'd be make for quite an interesting story if my character was sort of addicted to the adrenaline of using his powers, and that maybe he has to use his sort of science skill to create gizmos to kind of keep it in check. But yeah, anyway, I did come up with a kind of like background story. I shall read it to you now. Born from a lab explosion that fused experimental energy with his cells, Flux gained immense strength and the ability to unleash bursts of kinetic force. A brilliant scientist before the accident, he now uses his analytical mind to craft devices that stabilize his volatile powers. But the same energy that empowers him also fuels his deepest weakness, an addiction to the surge of adrenaline his abilities produce. Each heroic act brings a rush that he struggles to resist, forcing him to walk a razor's edge between saving the city and losing himself to the thrill that now defines him. Dun dun dun! I think that's going to make for quite an interesting character, if I do say so myself, and potentially one where I could possibly justify him becoming a supervillain, maybe later on in the story. So, I've also put down here in my notebook, my trusty notebook that I've used for many, many games, I've put down here the basic points we're going to need when we create our first mission. But let's take a look at the character sheet. Here we go. I've transferred the information onto this variant of the character sheet. You've got a character sheet here, but you've also got the game rules summary on the other side. So our character is called Fluff. I've just transferred the... again, these were like things I noted down as I was thinking about the story. Just put them down here. And get rid of that one now. 3 fate points. You start every mission. We're at Reputation 1 at the moment, and I have included a portrait. Now this is a token image from 2 Minute Tabletop. Do use a lot of their products, whether it is maps or sort of combat arenas or tokens. I do use a lot of their stuff in my videos, and I think I always remember to put the link in the description whenever I use 2 Minute Tabletop stuff, because they do deserve our help, our money, and they're amazing. They are amazing. 2 Minute Tabletop. Yes, but anyway, this is what I envision my superhero to look like. Maybe not at this point in time. Maybe he gets to maybe Reputation 3 or 4. Maybe he will look a bit like this. I'm thinking that maybe at Reputation 1 and 2, his costume won't be so elaborate, but I can't be bothered to do another one. But yes, this is Flux. So yeah, that's our character. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to generate our first mission. So we're going to be rolling up 3 things. First of all is the motive, then the action, and then the threat. With that information, we can then create the problem introduction, so we can set the scene, what's happening, what do I need to do, and then we can move on to scene 2. So back to the book. For mission reputation 1, we come to page 20, reputation 1 and 2. So these are going to be fairly simple sort of missions. I think it says, again, I think I said in the last video, simpler missions related to daily city life, minor crimes and initial challenges. When you go up to reputation 3 and 4, it becomes more risky, more, what's the word? More tough villains. And then reputation 5 and 6, these are going to become like the major true superhero problems, yeah? So we are currently reputation 1, so we're rolling on here. So I'm going to be transferring the details onto my sheet. So the motive, we're rolling a d6. Is that on camera? Yes, that's on camera. Okay, it's a 3. A crime in progress near you. Okay, so I've written that down here. Action. We roll again, d6. We get a 1. Stop a robbery. Okay, well, that's the crime in progress. Again, I've written that there. Stop a robbery. And third, the threat. Who is actually doing the robbery at this moment in time? We roll a d6. We get another 3. Neighborhood villain. Now, I don't think that's going to be. Should I make it a super villain? Maybe. I'll roll up on the actions and themes, and maybe that can help me to decide whether this is going to be a super villain or just your sort of standard normal vision. So, neighborhood villain. Okay, so we've got the 3 elements for the mission, and like I say, we're now going to go and set up the problem. So he says here you present the conflict or mystery that the hero must face. Use the oracle to get simple answers that guide the scenario, or the action and theme tables to inspire the mission hook. I can also use the optional city locations to give me an idea in terms of where this is happening. It's near me, but I'd like to know where exactly in the city it could be. So maybe we'll do that first. Maybe we'll roll up the city location first. So I'll put here location, and we'll roll up. So this is, again, d6. Let's use different d6 this time. So what type of area? Again, is that on camera? Yep, that's a 1. So it's in a residential area. Okay. Defining feature or landmark. Oops. Oh, come on. I can't even get it in the blooming tray. There we go. A 5. Prominent natural feature. Current activity or atmosphere. We got a 6. High-tech, futuristic. Okay. And hidden element. We'll roll it. I don't have to. I mean, the good thing about games like this is if you roll something you don't like, you don't have to use it. Who's going to tell? 5. Forgotten memorial or graveyard. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at those first. So what have we got? A residential area. I've put here graveyard. High tech. Maybe that means that this is maybe a richer area of the city. High tech. Maybe there's a lot of sort of CCTVs. There's a lot of sort of security systems on the shops. Maybe not like your Beverly Hills or whatever, but maybe it's a sort of higher level of residential area. And I think we rolled up a, where is it? Prominent natural feature. So maybe in the middle of this area, maybe actually at the center of the graveyard itself, there's a large ancient oak tree. So maybe there's some people actually in the graveyard. And because maybe it's like a high-tech residential area, maybe like a higher income area, maybe some people are going to the graveyard, maybe to pay their respects to their lost ones, and maybe there's a robbery happening actually in the graveyard. I mean that's a bit more interesting than a city street. So I'm thinking that that could be good. And the neighborhood villain, I'm thinking that maybe it's just your... I don't think this is necessarily going to be a supervillain. Again, it kind of depends what happens as we go through the story. I think if I remember correctly, the example... Was it the example in here? No, I think the example in here was just the basic, sort of basic enemies, basic villains. But I think Lekkis did a video, a gameplay video, and I think he did it so that it started off as like gang members and thieves. But I think later in the story, maybe scene 3, I think he made sort of the gang leader some kind of super villain or somebody with minor superpowers. We'll have to see how the story goes. But I'm thinking at the moment it's not going to be a super villain, but maybe just a still dangerous gang leader, maybe, possibly. All right, I'm thinking that that's going to be scene 1. Do I want to roll up any other things? I mean, like I say, I could use the Oracle to ask questions. For example, is the villain alone? Is the person being robbed alone? I mean, I could roll that up now. Okay, so I'm thinking that this is going to be, is the affluent the word? We'll say like a higher income residential area. Can't spell. Residential area, robbery in graveyard near ancient oak tree. So basically you've got this large residential area, maybe or near the center there's a graveyard. In the center of the graveyard, there's this large oak tree, and the robbery's happening near there. Let's roll up action and theme just to see if they can be useful. Action and theme. Like I say, I can ignore them if I don't like it. So, action. We roll. We get a 5. So this will be X, and this will be Y. So 5, 3, 5, 3. Invade. And we're rolling again. So blue is X, red is Y. So blue is X. So 1, 5. Ritual. Ooh. That could take the story in a completely different area, couldn't it? That makes me think of things like voodoo. Invade, ritual, or I mean, maybe, like I say, I mean, the idea of maybe the villain robbing somebody as they're paying their respects. The ritual could maybe be the person or the family sort of saying prayers at the graveside, and the villain is actually invading that in terms of attacking them or robbing them as they're doing it. So he's invading their ritual of prayer, maybe. Okay, that could probably work. Okay, let's ask some questions. The villain, is the villain alone? That'll be the first question. Victim alone, that can be my second question. I want to know whether the villain's, it said here neighborhood villain, but I want to know whether he's doing it by himself or whether he has sort of lackeys with him. Next question, I think, is the victim alone? And maybe are there civilians nearby? So is there anybody else nearby that may be able to help us? So for that, we're going to be rolling on the Oracle. The Oracle is a simple D6. So first of all, the first question, is the villain alone? We get a 2. No. So maybe he has some lackeys. How many lackeys? D3? Let's say D3. 1 extra lackey. So plus 1 thug. So it's going to be kind of the main villain plus one of his soldiers or one of his thugs. Is the victim alone? A 3. No. Okay, so I'm thinking that would lead that they've got their family with them. Are there other civilians nearby? In other words, is this an empty area of the graveyard, or are there other families nearby? Okay, we can ask the Oracle again. We get a 4. Yes, there are some other families nearby. Okay. So I mean, that's setting the scene in terms of scene 1, setting down the problem introduction, which I'll just underline here. So with that information, we can now go ahead to scene 2, scene 3, whatever, and to do actions and challenges. So it says here, these scenes represent moments of tension and action, where the hero takes steps to solve the problem. Use the 3d6 rule, which is the actions test, rolling each die individually to define consequences, successes, and surprises. You can use 1 or 2 action scenes depending on the pace you want for the mission. Got to be honest, as I think I mentioned earlier, I have done it with 3 or 4 scenes in certain cases, as I've been playing it before. So, okay, so we move to scene 2. So this was scene 1. Now we move to scene 2. Now, this game is very much a narrative game. I don't think it's necessarily a journaling game as well. It can definitely be played as a journaling game where you make notes about everything, or you write the narrative and the story as you're playing through. But I don't think it's actually essential for this game. Normally, I don't journal fully. I normally just make bullet points and notes and things. But yeah, so we are going to scene 2, which is in the graveyard, and we are going to take action. All right, I've just put a little bit of info here. So I've put down here, scene 2 is going to be in the graveyard. A pair of hooded and masked thugs are trying to rob a family who are at a grave praying to lost loved ones. So the praying handles the ritual, and they're trying to rob handles the invade. Okay. Flux sees large knives in the thugs' hands, and recent events in the neighborhood suggests they won't hesitate to use them. So what we now have to decide is, what is our character going to do in terms of our first set of actions? I'm assuming that I have my costume on under my clothes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run over and at the same time try to get rid of my sort of outer clothes. Try and actually, should I? Or should I find somewhere to change Superman style? Okay, I'm going to ask Oracle a question. Is there somewhere nearby that I can quickly get out of my clothes and keep my identity secret? Is there? A 1, that's not good. Okay, so this is why I wanted to use this character sheet, because it's got all the tables here. A 1 is extremely no. This place has nowhere to hide and get rid of costume. It's got nowhere to sort of take cover from the elements if it rains. It's extremely devoid of anywhere except graves and a bloody great oak tree. So I can't change. So maybe I won't display my costume and stuff, which may affect in terms of people knowing who I am for reputation purposes. So I'm going to have to try and keep my identity secret as I'm kind of rushing over and lending assistance so that they can't see my face. Do I have a mask? Let's ask the Oracle again. I'm a bit worried. Do I have a mask that I could use to maybe help keep my identity secret? No. No, I have no masks. There are no masks nearby. Nobody has a mask in this graveyard. Dang it. I mean, maybe I'm going to end up being one of those superheroes where people do know my identity. Okay, I've got to go in and try and help. So I'm going to rush over. Now I've got my powers are essentially, I'm very strong and I can do kinetic blasts. So, I mean, I could run over and sort of aim a blast. But the thing is, I don't know how sort of focused the blasts could be. I'm kind of thinking that since my other power is strength, I'm kind of thinking that the blasts would be over a larger area than sort of maybe sort of more like a sort of shotgun rather than a sniper rifle kind of thing. So, okay, let's ask another question. Okay, so there's two bad guys here. Let's say that the villain, the sort of main guy, is the one who's actually robbing them, and the other one is sort of behind him slightly. Do I think I can affect the other guy, the one who's hanging back a bit with the blast, without any possibility of the sort of civilians getting hurt? Do I think that there's a chance? A 4. Yes. Okay. Right, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to run over as fast as I can, and when I get close enough, I'm going to aim like a kinetic blast at the ally of the villain and try and sort of knock him off his feet, maybe into a gravestone and knock him out for the time being, sort of getting him out of the picture. So this is now action. It's an action test. We roll 3d6 and we have to read them individually. Let's see what happens. Now, I've rolled a couple of ones already. Hopefully there won't be any more. Let's see what happens. Okay. We get a 5, a 2, and a 2. Well, that's not really very good at all. So we got 1 success. We've got 2 neutral results. But nothing negative, thankfully. So the neutral events are essentially just narrative things that you can use to kind of lead up to your successes and failures. In our case, it's going to be a success. Maybe it takes me a lot longer to get there than I planned, kind of thing. Not necessarily a problem, but it's something that sort of prevents me from getting more successes. Maybe the other guy, maybe they both spot me, but they're unable to kind of set themselves ready for my attack. That can be the other neutral effect, I think. And then the 5, the success, is my kinetic blast that I let loose when I get very close to them does send the other guy sprawling. I'm thinking that because it wasn't a 6, because it wasn't a kind of exceptional success, maybe I just hit the guy and he gets forced away, but he doesn't get knocked out. He doesn't get taken out of the fight immediately, but maybe he's going to be out of the picture for a little while. So he's still potentially a risk. Okay, what happens next? Okay, so the next thing that happens is going to be, I think that because obviously I'm some kind of threat rather than the sort of the people at the graveyard. I'm thinking that the leader then turns his attention to me and will attack me with a knife. The other guy who's been sort of knocked back and away, he's kind of recovering his senses and trying to get up. So he won't take part in this particular turn. But the main villain, the guy who's actually trying to rob these people, he's actually going to try and attack me. I'm going to try and block and then use my strength to kind of knock him out. 1s would be very bad because I'm anticipating that would probably be body damage from the knife. Let's see how we do. So I'm going to try and block or avoid his knife attack, and I'm going to try and punch him back to try and knock this guy out. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, right. We got a success. We got a neutral. And we got a 1. Nuts. This isn't good at all, is it? Now, I could use a fate point because that could cause a problem. Because I'm thinking that if I don't adjust this, I'm thinking that the success would be me managing to block the attack, maybe knocking the knife out of his hand as I block his attack. The 1 could potentially be that the knife goes flying towards the family, possibly injuring one of them. And the 2 maybe that represents the other thug kind of getting to his feet and coming back into the fray. So I don't really want this to represent a knife hurtling towards the civilians. So what I might do is I might actually use a fate point. One fate point to re-roll one die, or to ignore the damage from a roll of 1. Yeah, because the thing is, because I rolled that 1, I'm going to be taking a point of damage here. I mean, if the knife hits me, it's going to be a body. If the knife hits a civilian, that could be a bond damage. Let me just double check. Hang on. Bond. Where's bond? Social, emotional. Your connection with allies, civilians, and ideals. So yeah, if I use this to represent a knife going to the civilians, that would represent a point of bond resistance damage. What else can I use fate points for? Where is it? Fate points. Recover 2 points. Or I could use 2 fate points to add 2 to an action test. A 1 becomes a 3. Ignore the damage from a roll of 1. So if I use 1 fate point, what that would basically mean is the 1 kind of still happens, but it's not going to actually hit the civilian. It may come close, but it's not going to hit them. Therefore, it's not also going to cause me a point of damage to my bond. I think that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to use 1 fate point, so I'm down to 2. But what's going to happen is basically the 1 still represents something bad happening. In this case, I managed to knock the knife out of his hand. It goes flying towards the family. Maybe it embeds itself into the ground near them. But luckily, it's nothing I need to be concerned about. It's not anything that I'm going to be facing issues from later. And I do avoid, because of that, I do avoid taking the bond resistance damage. Okay. So I do block and I do hit the guy. Does he go down? Again, it's not a 6, is it? I mean, I could do it so that just a success manages to knock him down. Maybe that's what this kind of represents. Maybe I do knock him down. So I'm thinking that I do knock this guy down. He doesn't get back up again because of my immense strength. I managed to just knock him clean out. The next action, okay, so for the next action, the main villain, the one who's actually trying to rob them, he's down and out. The other guy was running in, but we're gonna roll to see the next action, exactly what happens, because he may decide to turn and flee if I roll badly. So yeah, next action is I'm going now, seeing that the guy's knocked out on the floor and the other guy's running back in with his knife. I'm gonna again prepare, try to block and punch back. But let's see what the dice tell us is going to happen. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Look, I got a 6 and I got a double 1. Okay. Again, we got fate points, but there is another thing. Dum 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 dum. Yeah. Again, in the new version of the rules, this is done nicely. If what you're attempting relates to your power or skill, each roll of 6 cancels out 1 roll of 1. So, because we are trying to block an attack and punch the guy, that is related to my physical strength. So the 6 manages to knock out one of the 1s. Great. However, there's another one. So, well, at least I think we're only going to take 1 damage from this instead of 2. I'm not going to use another feint point just yet. We've got a long way to go yet. So the 6 represents an incredible piece of luck. Maybe we managed to disarm the thief. We managed to punch him. We managed to punch him senseless, yeah. But maybe the 1 represents that maybe we did get cut a little bit as we were blocking. So I'm thinking that's maybe a bit of body damage. So we'll take 1 body damage there to represent the physical wound. But maybe the 1 also represents that there was another gang member on either the outskirts of the graveyard or sort of on the street next to the graveyard who's seen what's going on, and he goes running off, obviously to tell the other members of the gang, and that can lead us to the next scene, scene 3. So that's how I'm going to read this. So we managed to overcome the thieves in the graveyard, narrowly missing throwing a knife at one of the civilians. We've taken 1 body point. We're down to 2 fate points, but we've now got to get out of here quick before somebody sort of recognizes me. And we're now going to try and chase down and find out where the other gang member is going to be running off to. Obviously, he was some kind of lookout for police or something outside the gates or outside the graveyard. But now we're going to try and chase him down before he can actually tell the rest of the gang of what's happened. So that's going to be scene 3. Right, scene 3. I'm going to roll up the location because it's going to take part somewhere else as we're running after this lookout, this other gang member. So, type of area 5. Entertainment or nightlife. Okay. Defining feature or landmark. 5 again. Prominent natural feature. Okay. Alright. Current activity or atmosphere. 3. Under construction or renovation. Okay. And hidden element or secret. Okay. Oops. Went out the thing. Another 5. Forgotten memorial or graveyard. So maybe this is also close by to the graveyard. So maybe entertainment or nightlife. So I'm thinking maybe like a nightclub, which is sort of a cover for the gang's activities. Maybe prominent natural feature. I might not use that. Under construction, so maybe this is by an area of the graveyard that is currently sort of under construction, or an area where maybe there was some natural damage, flooding or something. So it's under construction. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Let's roll up some bump action and theme. See if we can get it, because again, last time it fitted really well with the invade and ritual. Let's see if we get suitable words again this time. So again, we'll have blue and red. So 6-3, choose, so action, choose, and then theme. Theme is 1-3, justice. That's what I'm going to do. Choose justice. Surrender or die. Doesn't sound very superhero-ish, does it? But there you go. It's the adrenaline. It's the adrenaline that's doing it. So we're chasing this sort of this thug, this gang member, this lookout, and he goes around the sort of edge of the graveyard, past this flooded area that was maybe there was some kind of pipe or pipe. Yeah, maybe there was a pipe underground that sort of broke recently and sort of came up and flooded this section of the graveyard. So there's all these barriers everywhere because it did actually sort of upend some of the sort of graves that were there. So it's all sort of cordoned off and blanketed off so nobody can actually see. But people are very busy there in the construction in terms of getting rid of the water and trying to sort of put the coffins and stuff back into the ground. Very, very dark. But around the edge of the graveyard, there's actually, I think a nightclub. There's a nightclub of ill repute where, again, the gang kind of does all their business. And the guy, the sort of major guy that I just knocked out, maybe he's like one of the leaders and very prominent in terms of the sort of theft, burglaries and everything else, protection rackets that are happening in this area. Maybe this is like the first guy that I knocked out. But we've got to go to the nightclub to basically prevent this guy from, this sort of lookout from telling the others. So I kind of want to try and get to him before he gets to the nightclub. All right, so are there any questions that I want to ask in terms of the Oracle? Okay, can I catch him before he gets to the nightclub? Because I don't have like super speed or anything, so can catch him before he gets to the nightclub. Let me ask the Oracle. Can I get to him before he gets there? Come on. Oracle says extremely no. Not only do I not catch him before he goes in, but I think there's going to be a reception committee once I enter the doors. Oh, come on. I need new dice. More new dice. I need more new dice. So the answer is, I rolled a 1. No. Right, so we're actually gonna, dang it. So we get to the nightclub, we open the door, and there is the guy that I was chasing, and he's got a couple of other guys sort of standing nearby doing the whole sort of waiting, and they've got chains, they've got baseball bats, they've got whatever, and they're like, you come to our territory, you knock down our people, you know, you're going to get it now. So, man. But at least it's combat. Because with my powers of strength and kinetic blasts, I should be able to, if I roll 6s, possibly get rid of any 1s as well. So, all right, we are going to fight. So there's 3 of them. So I think I'm going to start off by attempting to do a sort of wide, what's the word? Spread, like a widespread kinetic blast, to try and at least knock at least one of them down, or all of them down if possible. But I want to try and affect all 3 of them at the same time. Maybe knock them backwards into chairs and tables. That's the plan. Let's see if the dice allow me to fulfill the plan. Ba-dunk. Oh, no 1s. I got a neutral. Look. I've got 2 6s. So the neutral event may be one of the thugs, maybe the lookout, the guy who I've just been following and running. Maybe he saw what I did at the start with the kinetic blast to knock out the sort of the first guy. Maybe he saw that from the edges of the graveyard, so he kind of knew what was coming, and he managed to dodge sort of, or duck, or fall to the ground and avoid it. The other results, the 2 6s, something incredible happens. Oh yeah. I'm going to interpret that as taking the other 2 guys completely out. Maybe the kinetic blast forces them backwards over chairs and tables, and they whack their head against the front of the bar, taking them out of the fight completely. So now it's just me versus the guy who ran, the guy who was the lookout. This is going great. This is definitely going according to plan. I shouldn't say that. I should not have said that. So for the next round, I'm going to try to grab the sort of the last conscious guy, sort of pick him up and sort of say to him, leave the neighborhood alone, forget you saw me, or it's going to be worse for you and the others. I think that would actually be a reputation roll rather than action roll, because I'm just trying to threaten the guy, intimidate the guy. The thing is, if the roll result is less than your reputation, you're recognized. I've got a reputation of 1, so it's not going to work, is it? I can't roll less than 1. There's no way to get bonuses for this roll, is there? So I can't really use that. But let's do it since I can't do that from a reputation, maybe I'm just going to have to sort of grab the guy, sort of punch him. Punch? No. See, the thing is, I've also got this weakness, this addiction to using powers. So in a situation like this, I would want to use my strength and my blast to get results, you know? So I'd be, again, that would be, what should I do? So, okay, grab the guy. So, and then I'm going to kind of lift him up off the ground to sort of show him my strength and basically say to him that you don't want me to come back. I think that would. I think I can try and get that to work. Okay. Yeah. We'll see what happens, shall we? Bum, bum. Got a 6. We got a 6 and 2 4s. Oh yes. So 2 successes. So I managed to grab the guy as he's trying to scrabble away and escape. I do manage to lift him up off the ground. And the 6, when I'm trying to intimidate him about telling him you don't want me to come back, maybe I don't know, maybe he loses his bodily functions and kind of wets himself. I'm kind of thinking that he's going to get the message. So we now go to scene 4, which is the conclusion. Here the mission reaches its outcome. It can be a victory, a defeat, or an ambiguous result that opens the door for future stories. So I'm thinking that it's going to be a victory, right? Use the Oracle or 3d6 to define the final impact of the hero's actions. I mean, that might have been what I just did, actually. In terms of like the final message, grabbing the guy, picking him up, telling him that he doesn't want me to come back. And I got a really good result for that. So I'm thinking that it's going to be a victory. I'm not going to necessarily do the scene 4 thingy-me-bobby. I think I just did that. So see, I'm just going to put here scene 4. I'm going to put victory. I think it ended up as a success. Underline that. So we end up with +1 reputation. Now, what I could put down, because the thing is I wasn't in costume for this, because there wasn't anywhere necessarily for me to change. I didn't have a mask. I rolled a 1 to find out whether I had a mask, and nobody had any masks. So maybe I'm going to ask the Oracle, did anybody recognize me? Because that could have an effect maybe in the next mission. So question for the Oracle: was I recognized? Question mark. So was I recognized? Oh, which die should I use? which dice has been good to me? None of them really. I'll use the blue one. So was I actually recognized? Do any of the people that I was in contact with during this mission, did any of them recognize me? Not necessarily for me to know now, but in terms of whether it's going to have an effect in future missions. So did anybody recognize me? Oh, hang on. Rolls out of this one quite easily. We got a 1. Oh, actually, a 1 is good now, isn't it? Extreme no. So hell no. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows who I was. We do get the rep, not necessarily as FLUX, but as somebody who sort of rescued a family using immense strength and sort of kinetic blasts. So my reputation does go up, but not necessarily specifically for FLUX, because maybe people don't know FLUX yet, but they know of a mysterious stranger who did this. So maybe in the next mission, if I'm wearing like costume and everything, maybe that will link up with my exploits in this mission to reflect the increase in rep. So, hell no. Nobody recognized me. Right, and that is how you play Heroes Ascension. As I mentioned earlier, it is a very easy game to play, but you really do have to be able to work with the prompts and to develop, establish, grow stories, and to narrate what's going on with the dice and what the dice are reflecting, especially in terms of the action tests. There are some tools in Infaernum to help you, some of the expansions. But yeah, it's a really good game. I don't think it's that expensive. I forget how much it is. I don't think it's an expensive game. But as I mentioned earlier, if you could use the link in the description below to purchase the game, I will get a little bit of store credit on drive-through, which I can then use to get more games for the channel. So, I hope you enjoyed that. It was just mission 1. We're going to have to do at least another, 5 missions? But this is one of those games where there is a definite ending. Yeah, Once you reach reputation 6 and you do a final mission, that's it. Yeah, that's the end of your story for Heroes Ascension. But feel free to take your heroes into other games, yeah, other afterwards. Marvel, maybe games like Champions, maybe even the old games like what was that one I left in the UK? Golden Heroes. I had to leave a lot of games in the UK. I couldn't ship everything out here when I moved over to Malaysia. So I really regret it because I've got no idea whether those games have been kept by my family, whether they've been thrown out or sold. But I left Warhammer 1st Edition, I left Warhammer 2nd Edition, Golden Heroes, my Marvel Advanced. Oh, I left a lot of games back there. Anyway, you don't want to hear my sub story. This is the story of FLUX. Right, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Got another set of videos coming up before the end of this month. Currently busy reading and planning and thinking about what I want to do, but I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It is something that is well overdue on the channel. Not going to say anything else. I want it to be a nice surprise. So I will see you in the next video. Until then, don't forget to check out Heroes Ascension. Take care. Stay safe. Cheers.